Okay, now that we have the carb mounted on the bike, we want to start it up, but a lot of models have a automatic shutoff in their fuel petcock. Some models, the older ones, don't. I'm assuming most of them will with your newer bikes. The fuel is not in the carburetor yet, so the only way to get fuel into the bike is for the engine to turn over. You'll actually see the fuel flowing here. Now, if you do not change your fuel line to a clear line, you have to wait. You'll see that fill. When that's full, then the bike is ready to start. It will not start until that's ready. So, got to remember, you're going to prime the bike first. You have to turn it over a couple times. When you turn the idle screw up, you're moving the slide up, which gives it more air and more air speed. You can do it up to a quarter turn, but after that, we need to start adding fuel. The fuel is like a faucet. The more you turn it out, the more fuel you get. The more you put it in is less fuel. So, as you turn the idle up in, slide goes up, you must turn the fuel out to give it more fuel, and vice versa. Normally we send these things out, we already dyno tested it and ran it, so it should be extremely close. The most common thing is people get it idles slow before the engine's hot, they turn the idle up to get the idle up, but then as soon as it's warmed up, it's out of tune. So don't do that. The fuel bowl is full because we know we have fuel line here, and the fuel is showing here in this little small pickup area. So we're going to turn the key on, pull the choke all the way out, and we're going to start the bike up. Remember, I'm going to only run it for a little while in the choke, and I'm going to shut the choke off pretty fast. It's pretty warm here today. Keeping the bike running with the throttle, get some heat into it. We got the bike running here now. It's fairly warm, but I'm going to give it a little more heat. So I want to turn the idle up a little bit. It's a little low. I turn it up. Better. So all I did now is I turned the idle screw up. That's all I did. It creates the slide height. Now I'm going to go is I'm going to check the fuel and see where we call it the sweet spot. And basically, you're going to turn the fuel in or fuel out and find out where it runs the best. So I'm going to start first with going in. Eighth of a turn. Eighth of a turn. Eighth of a turn. I hear a little bit of lobe there. Eighth of a turn. Definitely went down now. Go back out where it was good. I'm going to go the other way now. Eighth of a turn. Eighth of a turn. Eighth of a turn. Get the engine drop. No, too far. Back in again. We're a fourth before it dropped off. Back up the idle screw. Maybe give it a little bit more idle. Hit that even cylinders now. Nice even. I'll go back to my fuel screw again. In an eighth. In an eighth. RPM's a little higher. In an eighth. Dropping off now. Go back out. And that's the sweet spot. That's really all is to it. Very fast. Very easy. But you notice I didn't move the fuel screw really more than an eighth of a turn or quarter turn. Same as the idle. I know a lot of people like their bikes to run really low and lopey. What we're going to do is I am going to lower this idle down for people that must have their idles lower, and just to kind of show you with a scenario how to do it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the idle, which is going to lower the slide height, which remember, when we lower the slide height, that means we're taking and making the bike richer, so we got to take fuel away. So more than likely I'm going to lower this down so the engine comes down, and then I'm going to probably put this fuel screw in to balances it back out. So we'll do it real quick for you. Now I'm going to do the fuel screw to balance it back out again. going in with it. The engine's actually getting higher. Dropping off there, so that's no good. I go back out again. And now I'm going to back up the idle screw and go out even some more. Down, 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 down. Back to my fuel screw. In, lifts in the engine, in, lifts in the engine, in, dropping off, okay, back out again. So we've gone over turning the idle up high and also going down low with it. Turning down low won't affect the parameters of the meter and rod and slide combination, but going up too high will. And the reason is as we send them out, the carb is idling on the fuel circuit only, which is this circuit here. The meter rod is not delivering any fuel. As you rise the slide up, eventually it will start running on the meter and rod. There's a point to it. And the point is about 3/4 to almost 1 turn in with the idle screw. So we always try to keep it around 3/4 or less. If you go past that setting, that 3/4 setting, let's say you went in 1 full turn, the bike will idle, it'll idle high, but what will happen is you bypass the fuel circuit. It's basically like twisting the throttle. You've ran on the meter rod, so you always have to keep in that spec. So never go more than like 3/4 a turn on the idle up. So we have our bike all tuned now. We have our idle set, our fuel screw set. Bike's ready to run. But if you want to check the high-speed tuning, which will be half throttle and above, it starts drawing fuel from the flopo up to this thing called a power jet. And basically, the power jet is just a screw that goes in and out. It's like a faucet. The more you close it, the less fuel it gets. As you turn it out, it gets more fuel. It's set, like say, from the factory. If you take the bike out and you want to do either on a dyno or a high-speed run, what you would do is you take and put it in like 3rd gear or 4th gear, do a wide open run, 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, close the throttle, and pull the clutch in, drift over the side of the road, pull your plugs out, this is without a dyno obviously, and take your plug and look at it. And then you look at your plug color. It should be a very, very light tan. If it's white, open that up some more, which it's like a faucet, give it more. And vice versa. If it's black, turn it in and give it less fuel. So that's basically that is. It's only for half throttle and above though, that tuning. It will not affect most of your cruising, everything. You're never on the power jet hardly. Now we're going to the advanced tuning. The advanced tuning is actually adjusting the meter rod itself, which is inside the carburetor. So how do I know if I have to adjust it? If it sneezes through the carburetor, coughs through the carburetor, that's very common. You hear them all the time spitting through the carburetor. That's lean. It's always lean. And then what we would do is we'd pull this carburetor off and we richen up 1/4 of a turn. 1/4 of a turn makes a big difference. So don't overshoot this. 1/4 turn, half turn, you never go more than 3/4. It's the same on the idle screw. 3/4 is your limit on that. Most of the time, a 1/4 turn will do it. How do we know if it's rich? Well, that's a little harder because you really don't have an O2 sensor. So basically, does it smell rich? Is it real eye burning? Or if you cruise around town and you come home and you take your spark plugs out and they're black, it's rich. And so that's the time when you'd lean it out, unscrew it to give it less fuel. And we'll show you how to do that then. Screws out. Simply pull the slide out. Okay. Now you have your slide in your hand. We go in 1/4 turn increments. With the 4T carburetor, a 1/4 turn is quite a bit of adjustment. So normally a 1/4 turn will just do whatever you need to do. You can go up to as much as 3/4 of a turn, but 1/4 to a half is recommended. So we're going to richen this bike up 1/4 of a turn. Flat side is on that side, facing the engine. Take the tool, put it on the rod, turn it 1/4 of a turn. You're done. Now, the rod is shorter, which is richer, but the problem is the flat side is not facing towards the engine. The flat side of the rod is not facing towards the engine. So now, you put your tool down, you grab the meter rod with your fingers, and you can see a spring, it goes up and down. you want to collapse that spring and turn the rod so the flat side is facing towards the engine again. So collapse the spring, spin it around, drop it down. You'll feel there's a little notch in there. It's in there, and that's it. Your adjustment is done. Then just all you have to do is put it back in and reverse your installation properly. Started. So then I'll go down, kind of snug it a little bit, not much, just so it touches. Just so it touches. And then what I do is I back it off a half a turn. Back it off a half a turn. And back it off a half turn. I'll grab with my other hand here, hold the throttle wide open, and just snug them all down. Snug, snug, and snug. Let your throttle go, and then tighten it up. That lines everything up real nice. You don't have to do that, but it's a real good process. Make sure your cable's not bound up. Push it back into the boot. Square it up at the engine. Put your fuel line back on. And assemble your air filter again. You're done. You're done with your adjustment. It really shouldn't change the bike at all when it comes to idling and stuff. I always do, after I do that adjustment, I will warm the bike up, and then as it's idling, go back to my fuel screw, and I'll go in or out and listen to that engine like we did earlier, just to make sure that it's exactly the same. Because sometimes when you change the meter rod, it can affect just a little bit of the fuel circuit on the bottom. Normally it doesn't, but it's always good to check that again. Other than that, you're done and you're ready to go ride. So that covers all of our bases on tuning the carburetor. Our simple ones and also our advanced ones doing the meter rod. I spoke earlier in the video about engine have to be warm before we set any adjustments. What happens is you have the same air fuel as when it's tuned up from when it's warm. So now it enters your combustion chamber. Your combustion chamber is cold, so that's why it'll run lean or not run the same. That's why I encourage you always never do tuning unless the engine's hot to touch.